Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I wanted to do another top 10 video, right? And this time we're going to do top 10 films, right? I'm just kind of doing a few of these, maybe just to sort of log what it is that I think is some of the best things around, and maybe in a few years I'll do another one and we'll see how my taste changes, right? It can just be a time capsule for the future really. But also at the same time, I know it is a clickbaity thing doing top 10 this, top 10 that, top 10 whatever, but at the end of the day, I quite enjoy watching top 10 things. I get a kick out of it, and I think the reason is because I like, for instance, films where there's a clear progression and you can kind of tell how far you are into the film without sort of having to check the runtime, right? Without having to move the cursor on your mouse so that you can kind of see the little bar on the bottom. I like to know how far you are into the film based on how many people are left alive, or, you know, if the whole point of the film is to try and get to room 42 and then on room 27, I know they're about 2/3 of the way through, right? I like stuff like that. I like things that are clear. I don't like plotty films. I don't like things like that. I'm not too bothered about, you know, getting the most interesting and intricate storyline. What matters to me are characters and personalities and how those are conveyed on screen. So you'll probably notice that through this list. So first off is The Odd Couple, which released in 1968. Now what I really like about this film is just how it feels very, very true to life. It almost feels quite ahead of its time. It feels like a film that could have been made in the 90s or the 2000s, but it was made in 1968. And it shows this group of friends that play poker all the time, and they all go to this one guy's house, and this one guy's gotten divorced, and he's tried to kill himself, and everyone else has found out about this through some mutual friend, and they're all being a little bit on edge, and they're sort of like, don't mention him trying to kill himself. And it's a comedy, that kind of thing. So there's one bit where he goes up to the window and he's just looking out the window, and the guy's house, it is like, rushes over and like shuts the window. And eventually he says to the lad, listen, you can stay with me until you get back on your feet. And the lad sort of goes, oh, no, I can't do that to you. And it's like, I'll be a burden. It's like, no, you won't be a burden at all, you're my mate. Right? And so the lad sort of goes, well, look, let me cook and clean and stuff and be useful around the house. And he's like, all right, you can cook and clean and stuff if you really want. And the guy takes it way too far, to the point where, you know, he turns the house into like this 1950s, you know, sort of housewife kind of aesthetic, right? And he basically becomes a 1950s housewife. And he kind of forces the lad whose house it is to go from being a bit of a slob to being almost like a full husband, and they become like a husband and wife, hence The Odd Couple, right? But they're not husband and wife, they're not having sex or anything like that, they're just friends. But at this point, they're not even being friends, they're just arguing all the time. And it just does such a fantastic job of showing how friends shouldn't really live together, because it causes a lot of problems. Like whenever I lived with some friends for just about 2 weeks, right? It's not a long time, and we kind of hated each other by the end of it. So it doesn't work. Don't try and move in with your friends. It's not going to be Animal House like you think it is. It's going to be like The Odd Couple. Next up we have Four Lions, which is a film that came out in 2010, and basically it's a comedy about terrorism, right? Which sounds like it should be a recipe for disaster, but it's actually fucking fantastic. And I don't need to talk much about Four Lions, because every single person in Britain has pretty much seen Four Lions at this point, right? And you know what? Everyone seems to love it. I'm yet to hear of anybody who doesn't like Four Lions. Not a soul, right? I was talking to a Muslim friend of mine who I figured, like, you know, Muslim conservative dads, for instance, wouldn't like Four Lions because maybe it'd be taking the piss out of Islam or something. They love it. Old Muslim conservative dads love Four Lions, right? So if they're loving it and I'm loving it, and, like, you know, Greg down the pub who hates the Muslims loves the film, if all three of those people love the Four Lions is doing something right. Next up we have Independence Day. You can see I really like my my art house fucking cinema here. So Independence Day, Roland Emmerich, who's one of my favourite directors, which is a bit of a confession, I think. I mean, I love Moonfall. Moonfall is such a great, stupid film. It's just so dumb, but it's so fun. But I think Independence Day is genuinely his best work. It's actually good. and not just ironically good. It does a really good job of telling multiple stories with one plot thread running through it, aka the alien invasion. Simple premise, you can tell how far you are into the film by what's going on, how far away the aliens are they on Earth, are they fighting the individual aliens or the big mothership? And like, I like the scale that they gave to the aliens. It really makes it feel like this is a species destroyer, right? That this is an earth-shattering event. And it does such a great job of portraying that. And you know, it's 2.5 hours long, and I think it deserves every fucking minute of that runtime. Absolutely every single minute. All the performances are good, all the storylines are interesting. I think my favourite one is, what one would I say is my favourite? I'd probably say the Will Smith one. Nah, the Jeff Goldblum one with the chess. I'd say that one's my favourite. Yeah, that's my favourite one. Anyway, moving on. Next we have The City of Lost Children, which I'm going to be totally honest, I haven't seen for a couple of years, so I'm not going to be able to give you any kind of in-depth analysis of it or anything like that. I mean, not that I've done that for any of these fucking picks. Yeah, City of Lost Children is such an interesting steampunk type film. It does an incredible job of its world building. It's bringing you into this whole new world, and it's an incredibly interesting, and I'm not a particularly steampunk sort of guy, right? I don't tend to gravitate towards that sort of thing, but City of Lost Children really made me appreciate that, and the set designs and the costume ideas and the way that they make the world work and everything is so interesting. I cannot recommend this film enough. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything more on it because it's just that fantastic. He also did Delicatessen, which is basically about a butcher in France, and it's similarly really interestingly set designed and costume designed, and the acting's really good. And they're both quite fun films. They're fun and engaging, and you know, there's a lot going on in terms of, you know, hectic, fast-paced kind of storylines. But at the same time, everything feels nice and coherent. You know, it never feels too dry, but it never feels too wet either. Next up, we have The World's End, which is the final part of the Cornetto trilogy. I was considering putting this at number 1 because it's a film that I have a strong emotional resonance with. I've seen it probably the most of any of these films. I've seen it about 10 times. And yeah, Simon Pegg plays a character called Gary King, who's basically, when he graduated high school, he had one big pub crawl where they tried to go to 13 pubs, and they didn't get to all 13. They ended up getting stoned around like pub 9 and they crashed out. And Gary King never had a better experience in his life other than that, and he never moved on. And the rest of his friend group did. And the rest of his friends go on to become like, you know, building contractors and, you know, lawyers and important people with, you know, families and careers and children and stuff like that, adult responsibilities. And Gary King remained himself. He remained the teenage self long into his 30s and into his early 40s. And he tries to get everyone back together through various lies and manipulation to redo the pub crawl, to go back to the town and to redo the pub crawl. And it's so heartbreaking seeing how the change in all these people has occurred, how these people who were once so close are now so far apart. And yeah, it's not through any fault of any of their own, it's just that's how life is. People splinter off, you know. I mean, the friend group that I had my pub crawl Gary King days with are all going off to become like office workers and starting to get married and have kids and stuff. And sometimes I feel like I'm the Gary King, right? Trying to be a fucking filmmaker, you know? As if I'm so high and great. These people have real careers. I'm a fucking YouTuber, you know? So I resonate with the film quite a lot. And yeah, it's a film that I've watched many a time through many stages of my life, and gotten something different out of it every time. When I first watched it, I was the age that Gary King was when he first did the pub crawl. And now I'm getting to the age that, well, actually I'm not getting close to the age that Gary King is in the rest of the film, but I feel like I am. I feel like I'm getting to that point because all my friends are going in those directions. People have gotten their degrees and have started their careers and are starting to move on to the proper adult points in their life. And I feel like they're getting ahead of me. And is that their fault or mine? Well, it's obviously mine, isn't it? sad, isn't it? Next up we have Underground, which is it's a long film, I'm not going to lie, it's 3 hours. It's a bit of a tough one because it's in, I can't remember what the language it is. I think the film was made in Austria-Hungary, so whatever language they spoke there, it's in that. You can tell I know so much about these films that are apparently my favourite films ever, can't you? But yeah, this film is truly haunting and I don't really want to talk much about it. Partly because I can't remember a lot of it because I haven't seen it for about 3 years, but also when I did watch it, it really had a profound impact on me. He also did a film called Time of the Gypsies, which is equally fantastic. But these films, when I talk about them, they're not misery, boring, fucking pretentious fests, right? They have weird shit in them. They have cool, weird stuff. Like there's a turkey that runs around in this one, and there's one bit where he sneaks onto a film set where they're making a film all about the main character. And there's a Nazi that gets involved and is constantly hunting down the main two couple, and there's this weird love triangle that ends up resolving around the hour mark. And like, there's a brass band that follows the main character everywhere he goes as he wrecks the joint up. It's fucking fantastic, it's so much fun. And you'll notice that about a lot of these films is that they tend to be fun films. I'm not massively into, you know, serious dramas and stuff. You know, like, on a Moonlight, for instance, never seen it. I don't really care to see it. It just seems like it's too real and too, like, if I wanted to see that, I'd read the news, you know? So next up we got Crank, starring Jason Statham. This is the film that has a fantastic premise, right? He gets injected with a Chinese drug called Chinese shit, right? And it basically means that he runs on adrenaline, and if he runs out of adrenaline, aka he stops for more than a couple minutes, he dies, right? So he needs to keep his adrenaline up. And how can you keep your adrenaline up? Well, through constant fucking action, right? And look, I'm not a massive action movie guy, right? I haven't seen most action movies, right? I'm not someone who sits down and watches an action movie for fun just to go, "Quah, look at that," right? But Crank has some of the craziest, coolest action sequences ever. They're just so dumb, so ridiculous, so over the top, and so personalized to the film. Like, nobody else could have made the film other than Neville and what the fuck that? Mark Neville-Dean and Brian Taylor, right? Nobody else could have made this film other than those two. And I really wish they'd made a Crank 3 because I think Crank 2 is slightly better. The only reason I picked Crank 1 is I think it's a bit more of a well-rounded film. And I think it's better that I recommend Crank 1 rather than Crank 2, because if I recommended you Crank 2 and you watched it with no context, I don't know if you'd like it as much. Next up, we have Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa, right? So I am a big fan of Alan Partridge. I love the dry, sardonic, very specific humour that he brings. The very specific English kind of humour that's very cringe comedy inducing. In fact, there's a likely chance that Alan Partridge influenced stuff like David Brent's The Office, which then went on to inspire basically all of the sitcoms that came out in Britain after that in the 2000s. So I think a lot is owed to Steve Coogan and Alan Partridge. I think that this film in particular got me through a lot. It got me through my divorce, actually. When I was getting divorced, in the heat of it, right? I watched this film like sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. In fact, fuck The World's End, I said I watched that 10 times. I probably watched Alpha Papa about 30 times. I watched it every single day and I knew basically every scene inside and out. And I think it's a good starting point for Alan Partridge sort of things. He's a little bit more somber, a little bit older, and he portrays a bit more of an anxiety-induced kind of state. He's clearly confident, but in a way where he's portraying a sense of confidence to hide his insecurities. He doesn't come across as someone who is just like a big know-it-all. He comes across as someone who doesn't know anything, knows he doesn't know anything, but has to put on an act to try and hide that fact. And I just think it's a fantastic fucking film, and I'm not going to say much more than that because I want you to watch it. And also because I know that the camera battery is running low on that. That's the real reason. Next up we have Platoon, 1986, directed by Oliver Stone. I kind of prefer it to Full Metal Jacket. These films get compared a lot. Platoon feels a lot more real, and I think that's probably down to the fact that Oliver Stone actually fought in the Vietnam War, whereas Stanley Kubrick was already, I think he was about 60 by the time that Full Metal Jacket came out, and he filmed it all in London. But Platoon, I think I can't remember, but I think a lot of Platoon was filmed in Vietnam and places like that. So it feels very true to life, and the way that the Platoon is set out feels like the experiences of someone who knew what they were talking about. And it's incredibly interesting and incredibly clear cut, and I like the fact that there's two leaders. There's an easygoing hippie-ish type guy, and there's a full, like, no-nonsense psychopath. And they butt heads, and the whole Platoon is full of like these interesting, quirky, cool, relatable characters. And there's so much to get out of this film that I'm just going to say, watch it. And finally, a film that I have made an entire video about why I don't want to watch it again because I like it so much. Before Sunrise, directed by Richard Linklater, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. So it starts off, there's a train that's in Vienna, and there's a German couple having an argument on it. And there's two young people that sat on different rows. They don't know each other, but they kind of make eye contact going, "You seen that? Sheesh, sheesh," you know? They get talking a little bit about that German couple arguing, and then they kind of get on with, they're talking about other stuff. They hit it off, they find out they really have a good connection, and Ethan Hawke's character ends up having this kind of crazy idea, and he says this crazy idea, "Why don't you just get off the train with me tonight? We can just get back, like, I don't need to be here, you don't need to be here, but we can get on the next one tomorrow, and it still works with the way our tickets work. So we can just do that, and we can just have a nice night in Vienna and see if we like each other. Because I'm really enjoying talking to you." And she's like, "Well, I kind of enjoy talking to you too." And she goes along with it, and it starts off a little bit awkward, but they proper, I think, fall in love. And then the conflict comes that this night is going to end, and they're going to have to depart and not see each other again. And it's a genuinely fucking heartbreaking film. It's truly fucking one of the best films ever made, and I cannot emphasize that enough. It's a very dialogue-driven film. There's not much plot, there's not much storyline. It is just a pure, almost slice-of-life type thing, just following them across the night, and it feels very true to life. Like, for instance, I really like how near the start of the film, they go and meet this German guy comes up to them and sort of says, "Oh, do you want to come to our play? We play the cow." And they get talking about that, and they hand Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy a flyer for the play, and you think, oh, they're going to go see that later, but they never do, right? I love that. I love how they're not just following this strict plot fucking formula, right? That to me is fantastic. It's not following a strict 3-act structure. It's more of a 3-act blob of liquid, right? That occasionally melds into one another. And I just think that that's really, really gorgeous. And Richard Linklater is probably one of my favourite directors. He does dialogue so fucking well. It feels so realistic, so true to life. And at the same time, it's got so much charm and personality to it, because there are charming and interesting and personality-filled people out there that have so many interesting and novel things to say that you would never hear a normal person say. And yet here they are saying it, and they're a normal person, more or less. So why not follow them? For instance, in Slacker, there's a 10-minute long scene that I think it's done in one take. One shot of a conspiracy theorist rambling to a high school kid, and the high school kid trying to get away from him. And it's just a beautiful fucking scene. It's so good, and it's so funny as well. So yeah, I'd really recommend that you watch all of these films and check them out. I know I didn't give you like some full fucking analysis of them. That's because I don't really have any notes on my phone. What I have on my phone is the name of the film, the year it came out, the director, the top 2 actors in it, and a basic synopsis, and that's it. And I've also got fun fact, which is basically just something that I ripped off of IMDb trivia. So the fun fact for Before Sunrise is the film was almost entirely improvised. No, it fucking wasn't. What the fuck is that? It wasn't entirely improvised. I know that for a fact because I've got the script at home. I bought the script in book form, and you know what? The script is basically exactly the same as the final film. There's only 2 instances of changing anything, and it's basically just changes in the verbiage, but not the overall point. The graveyard scene, for instance, Julie Delpy is talking about how important like death is and something like that. I can't remember exactly, but she words it slightly differently in the script, but it's the same overall point. That's the only real change. The reason that the film is so good with its dialogue isn't because it was completely improvised. It's because Richard Linklater worked really, really closely with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. So, and they had a lot of input on the script and the dialogue, and he wrote the script to their voices. So I'm a bit concerned about these fun facts now, because I don't know entirely how true they are. Because I started talking about Oliver Stone being in the Vietnam War. I'm going to quickly look up, was he in the Vietnam War? Did Oliver Stone fight in Vietnam? I think he did. Apparently he did. He served in Vietnam with 2nd Platoon, B Company, 3rd Battalion, 22nd Infantry Regiment, 25th Infantry Division. If you know military code, tell me what that fucking means, right? I had a feeling that one was true. Why is one of the fun facts that it won a Palme d'Or at fucking Cannes? Who cares? Fuck off. Like, I don't care that it won an award. Fuck off, right? Then one of the fun facts is just completes the Cornetto trilogy. Who cares? I'm just making fun of my own fun facts now. The White House explosion scene used real miniature models and took months to prepare. This is for Independence Day. I could believe that. It was a pretty fantastic, iconic shot, so I believe that. And then for 4 lines, apparently Chris Morris spent a lot of time researching it. Who would have fucking believed it? I certainly would have, because it's a great film. So, yeah. Thank you very much for watching this very rambly top 10 video. If you want to see more top 10s in this style, let me know and I'll try and come up with more. So, thank you very much for watching. Take care and bye-bye. And let me know your top 10. And, yeah, put it in the comments. What's your top 10 films? Or top 5 if you can't be asked.